this year in Abbotsford, and to say it was a little wild and wacky is an understatement. We'll start off with the transit strike, and that was 4 months long. A lot of people couldn't get to work. They lost their jobs. UFV students, among others, were having a tough time just getting to classes. There was a call on the province, let alone the city, to put an end to the strike. But everybody seemed to want collective bargaining, and in the end, the strike was over. It did take 4 months. And we did get free transit for most of August, but for some, it was a little too late. The McKee neighborhood plan. Now, there were a few neighborhood plans that were presented to City Council. This one seemed to get the rile up for a number of people, especially when it came to services. This is a very, very dense area. Nobody wanted to lose any space when it came to parks, but a lot of people are going to be crunched into this. And will there be the services to back it up, let alone roads and sewers? Could there be and should there be another school in that area? And then again, when it comes to medical, would this ever be a burden on Abbotsford Regional Hospital, which is right now bursting at the seams as it is? Highway 1, the expansion to Mount Lehman. So basically the expansion to the airport, but initially everybody thought this was going to go through to Whatcom or maybe even further to Chilliwack, but Highway 1, 6 lanes to Mount Lehman. But is this too little, too late? That was a major concern and still is. When those new lanes do come online, will they be instantly filled and will we constantly have the traffic jams? SOGI and anti-SOGI. In fact, one protest at Abbotsford School had police come in to safely escort school board members to their cars. Now, there was some jostling. It wasn't as violent as Coquitlam. In fact, a trans activist, Nicola Sperling, was roughed up there. And there was also a similar type protest in Chilliwack, but that was more loud than it was any violence at all. But speaking of SOGI and pride flags damaged at UFV in Abbotsford. And what made this one very disheartening for some is that these were students that did this on campus. And yes, they had a good talking to. We had the Abbotsford boy almost drowning in Cultus Lake. Fortunately, the little guy is going to be okay. But again, when it comes to lake safety, and this was something that everybody raised their eyebrows at, and again, he is going to be okay. But basically, this was probably the parent's worst nightmare. On a lighter note, YXX, Abbotsford International Airport, this was their best year ever. And they've been on a growth, even through the COVID years, they've been doing quite well. And definitely firming up Abbotsford as that second airport in the Metro Vancouver area. That might have a few people at Vancouver International Airport a little bit miffed by saying that, but it's true. Mission truck traffic, there's a major rerouting, and if you live in Mission, you know that this has been a problem for years. Well, they're going to try and divert a lot of that truck traffic away from the downtown area. And fortunately, the Low Heat Highway has had some expansion as well on the west side of the city of Mission. Gang violence in Abbotsford. This has been going on for years, but now there were two major cases that reached out and their tentacles hit both Brampton and Toronto, Ontario. abbyPD basically doing the best they can do. Now, when it comes to sports, there was an interview with Black Press and the American Hockey League president. They called the Abbotsford Canucks a model franchise. Well, this is a far cry from what happened just a few years ago. Remember the previous team that was the Calgary Flames Farm Club, the Abbotsford Heat, were drawing poor crowds because nobody from Vancouver wanted to see the Calgary kids come up and coming in the farm system. And the divorce between the Abbotsford Heat and the Abbotsford Centre was one that taxpayers were, well, miffed about because it cost them a few $1 million to say goodbye. Totally the opposite now as the Vancouver Canucks have, of course, the Abbotsford Canucks here, but also operating the Abbotsford Centre. Everybody seems to be getting along. The success of the 55-plus games. Rotary Stadium was packed for the opening ceremonies. There were great crowds, and everybody praising that Abbotsford knew how to do these type of major events. That is a crowning achievement and something that's going to go a long way for other major events to come to Abbotsford. The Civic Achievement Awards went to a number of people at the Reach Gallery Museum, including Ann Penner, who got the Order of Abbotsford. But Nick Taylor, the golfer, won the Community Champion Achievement Award. And again, we mentioned the 55-plus games. The entire board of directors won the Community Recognition event. And then there was university sports. And UFV, their basketball, their volleyball, and their golf teams seem to be getting the bulk of the attention, but a lot of people forget there's that other university. Yeah, it's in Langley, but Trinity Western, their hockey and track and field programs, as well as their rugby, were gaining national attention. So kudos to all the schools. Coming up, Cari will take a look at the weather. We'll have our top story as well.
Abbotsford weather in review. Although it felt like we had nothing but rain in November, January had more days of rain, 21 in total, which was more than November. November 4th did have the most amount of rain for one day, 42 millimeters, which is a lot. December just might top both November and January, though, as it has already a total of 174.6 millimeters of rain. I feel like a duck. The highest temperatures in Abbotsford happened on May 14th, topping off at 33.6 degrees Celsius, which was a tad early in the year to be experiencing that high of a temperature, as my pool wasn't even ready yet. There was, though, another nasty stretch of hot weather in August from the 13th to the 16th, where the daily temperature was above 32 degrees Celsius, not my favorite. The coldest day of the year was on February 24th at negative 7.9, and that was without the wind chill. This is, in fact, happening in the middle of a 9-day snap where the lowest temperatures per day stayed below 0 degrees. It was very cold. All in all, the weather was okay this year. There was a very few days of smoky skies and no catastrophic atmospheric river events, which was fabulous. Back to you, Don. Happy New Year.
And finally, abbyTV's News of the Year, our number one story. Well, when it comes to politics, never a dull moment in Abbotsford. Never a dull moment in the riding of Abbotsford South, as Bruce Banman, MLA there, walked away from the BC United, which used to be the BC Liberals, and went over to the BC Conservatives. So a lot of people are wondering, does he have a chance to be re-elected? And now he's not the only one from Abbotsford South to have left that position. You might remember his predecessor was Darryl Plecas, who left the BC Liberals to become Speaker of the House. So Bruce Banman, you're the number one story of the year. A big thank you to you for watching us on abbyTV. We celebrated our first anniversary, and again, what more can we say? Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great New Year's Eve. Be safe. We will see you in the new year. I'm Don Lane.